Yeah, 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 one nation boss. Yeah. Hey, trouble them in a trouble, you know.
Where humility is plenty, growth is a must.
Nation. When you see me, I so looking like my last, yeah. When I last, me just a looking at my thoughts, and praise some things that people don't mean out the past. Now act like some are perfect, everybody have them flaws. Long before the COVID thing, enough for them, I wear a mask, yeah. Watch them kill it as them try go round the bus, yeah, yeah. Loyalty come with the cost, and I'm fi asking, oh, I love it on me heart. But anytime your heart too big, my lad, then we take you for a fool, and this is why me not like humans. This is why me not like humans, no, no. And me can't do trust no girl when me remember what she do, man. This is why me not like humans. This is why me not like humans, no, no way. Now the people them will style me as they please, yeah. Like them want me forget all the memories. Me forgive but not forget, but kind of for them as some praise. The only thing my beg the Father protect me from enemies, alright. Always for my kills and my peace. Enough time me get lonely, but company at the least. It's a different energy when me get higher by the trees. Tanisha says she feel it all the way across the seas. There's a natural mystic blowing through the air, yeah. And if you listen carefully now, you will hear. Saying it on your heart too big, my lad, then we take you for a fool, and this is why me not like humans. This is why me not like humans, no, no. And me can't do trust no girl when me remember what she do, man. This is why me not like humans. This is why me not like humans, no, no. Anytime your heart too big, my lad, then we take you for a fool, and this is why me not like humans. This is why me not like humans, no, no. And me can't do trust no girl when me remember what she do, man. This is why me not like humans. This is why me not like humans, no, no way. I know everybody I got like.
This is Quincy Anderson. You know I love my country. There's no other country better than mine. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so no other can compare. Guyana is made up of so many natural resources. We don't need no forces, cause we got enough resources. Let's talk about bauxite, gold, diamond, and rice. We got it right here. Guyana ain't going nowhere. We got enough oil too. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. Hey, hey, Guyana is nice, Guyana is fun, Guyana is clean, Guyana is green, Guyana got oil, Guyana got gold, Guyana got young and Guyana got old. I ain't talking no more. Guyana got things, we growing wings and developing things. The government real and that's a big deal. I'm singing from my heart, Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so no other can compare. Guyana is made up of so many natural resources. We don't need no forces, cause we got enough resources. Let's talk about bauxite, gold, diamond, and rice. We got it right here. Guyana ain't going nowhere. We got enough oil to one Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I... This is...
Look down through your window, no big city lights, just greenery. I don't know what you come for. Listen up, my dear, we're such a man free. Welcome to the land of many faces, not one, not two, but 6 different races. You know when the sun kisses your skin, you're in the right place. Guyana, oh, that's my beautiful country. One people, one nation, one destiny. Don't stop for a minute. Come, let me take a walk with 𝒊𝒏𝒕. You'll see our landmarks and our monuments. They're so unique. The high brick structure, the lighthouse, the tallest wooden structure, cathedral, 176th Street, monuments, and the beautiful city hall. You know with the wind in your hair, you're in the right place. Oh, that's my beautiful country. One people, one nation, one destiny. Look down from your window, no big city lights, just greenery. I don't know what you come for. Listen up, my dear, we're such a man free. Welcome to the land of many faces, not one, not two, but 6 different races. You know when the sun kisses your skin, you're in the right place. Guyana, oh, that's my beautiful country. One people, one nation, one destiny.
If I think about the ways you make me smile, I'd be sitting here and smiling for a while. Although I know I make you cry sometimes, your happiness is ever on my mind. I cannot repay for everything you've done, but my love for you burns brighter than the sun. No matter where my feet and mind may go, my heart will lead to you and you alone. the blessings of God never leave your shore. A paradise so wondrous to behold. A work of art, your heart is gleaming gold. They sail the waters, soar above the trees, to find the gem between the mountains and seas. Your children know we try though we may fall. We stand united now to heed your call. Our fathers fought the fights for liberty. Forever I'll defend Guyana free. Guyana, Guyana, I'll be holding on to you forevermore. Guyana, Guyana, may the blessings of God never leave your shore. Guyana, Guyana, I'll be holding on to you forevermore. Guyana, Guyana, may the blessings of God never leave your shore. Rise up for your land. Rise up, won't everybody stand? Rise up for your land. Rise up, won't everybody take a stand? Rise up for your land. Rise up, won't everybody stand? Rise up for your land. Oh, Guyana, Guyana, I'll be holding on to you forever. I'll be holding on to you, Guyana, Guyana. May the blessings of God never leave your shore. Guyana, Guyana, I'll be holding on to you forevermore. Guyana, Guyana, may the blessings of God never leave your shore.
Caution them,
AJ.
make it an anthem. The land of Guyana, of rivers and plains. I'm a real Guyanese. From the time when I step on the scene to the moment I leave. I'm a real Guyanese. From the red to the black to the gold to the white to the green. I'm a real Guyanese. And nothing can change me. So nothing can change me. I'm a real Guyanese. I living in a foreign country. So nothing can change me. 6 races, beautiful faces. Put your hand them in the air if you're not racist. I pledge myself to honor always. I will never disgrace this. Them want peace, how we mock. Wait your mothers, we not get you that. No, not one caress. Not a blade of grass. Listen up, 83,000 square miles. Oh my God, we find aisle. Me not tell you no lie. Guyana nice, but me swear for my life. Land of many waters, bring out all the leaders in the son, them and the daughters.
If you want to, we fight. No, not at all. I'm a real guy you need. From the time when I step on the scene to the moment me leave. I'm a real guy you need. From the red to the black to the gold to the white to the green. I'm a real guy you need. And nothing can change me. So nothing can change me. I'm a real guy you need. I live in a foreign country. So nothing can change me. We got stop broke. I'll it tough crook. It now is pretty, so nobody try act shook. Got a big up GRM, me know how my tax look. And when me have the money, me can go for my bank book. Beautiful Guyana, we there in South America. Land of kite, the flora and the fauna. Independent people, so we doing what we wanna. Never violate, because you could become a Ghana. Them love we country, all the foreigners, them children salute you. In the Indian temple, love we border, we no want no problem. Never fall, we forever standing. Me love how God make you, we never forsake you. Unique in every way, God I never mistake you. If Guyana was a girl, we surely would date you. That's why they want take you. I'm a real guy you need. From the time when I step on the scene to the moment me leave. I'm a real guy you need. From the red to the black to the gold to the white to the green. I'm a real guy you need. And nothing can change me. So nothing can change me. I'm a real guy you need. I live in a foreign country. So nothing can change me.
Morning, guys. Share the live. Welcome down to Livewire. Share the live.
From the time when I step on the scene to the moment me leave. I'm a real guy you need. From the red to the black to the gold to the white to the green. I'm a real guy you need. And nothing can change me. So nothing can change me. I'm a real guy you need. I live in a foreign country. So nothing can change me.
Good morning, and welcome down to Livewire. It is another day, Tuesday, the 12th of September, as we continue with Heritage 2023 and the various celebrations that they're having around the country, various indigenous communities. If you're interested in taking part in some of the cultural activities of Guyana's First People, you can find some more information on that on the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs Facebook page, and they'll keep you posted on what's happening, where it's happening, and what's going down. Morning to all the persons tuned in already. Soma Bispat, Zaza Ali, good morning to you. Shakila, good morning. What's going on in Essequibo? How's the weather treating you guys up there? 𝒐𝒊𝒔𝒄𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒎, good morning. Mr. Ramcharan, good morning to you. Keith Adams, Krista Korpasad, thank you for being here. Neil Ramlokan, Keith Benjamin, and of course, none other than Tracy Martindale, tuned in all the way from Region 7 Bartica up there. I know you guys are getting ready for, well, I would say it would have started already, heritage celebrations in the region. And as some persons would know, the heritage villages, Batavia this year. So persons will be heading to Region 7. I saw that they put some system in place to get persons from Bartica Central to Batavia at some reasonable cost. So again, check out the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs page for all the information you would need in relation to getting to Batavia for this year's Heritage Village. Good morning to the persons looking at us all the way from Barbados. Nirmala, good morning to you. What's going on in that area? Well, what's going on in Barbados? Y'all not performing too well. They're not performing too well at the cricket. But as persons would know, the Guyana Amazon Warriors touched down in Guyana yesterday. And this year seems like it might be the year. This year might be the year. What y'all think? Is this year our year? Morning, 𝒂𝒊𝒔𝒄𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒕. Good morning to you. Where are you guys looking at us from? Let's see where you guys looking at us from. I see Neil Ramlukan looking at us from New York, and Nirmala from Barbados, Tracy all the way from Bartica. Let's know where you guys are tuning in from, where you guys are seeing us from this morning. But as I was saying, the Amazon Warriors touched down yesterday, and a lot of Guyanese are in a celebratory mode. Um, we feel that this year is our year to take home that trophy, and we want to wish them the best in their endeavors. And it's time; it's our year, right? That morning, Zaza, all the way from Toronto, uh, Gil Eon from Staten Island, New York. What? What, Shaquille? You're never 𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒊𝒎 no more. You didn't even tell me nothing. You're close by. You're close by. Welcome to East Bank life. I wonder how you're dealing with that traffic there. But I know you got it covered. I'm glad to hear that you're closer to family. Shout out to all the people in Canal getting us that dragon fruit and that rubitan. Is that the right way to pronounce it? All the people in Canal number 1 and 2 doing the farming there. You know. So I'm saying, win or lose, we supporting the Guyana Warriors, right? And that's the way we have to be, right? Anyway, let's get into today's content. So before I jump into the content, let me touch on some off the cuff stuff. So the Guyana Police Force has been engaging in the traffic department, I should say, has been engaging in some campaigns, and I must say congratulations to the newly appointed traffic chief, Senior Superintendent Singh, formerly the commander of 4B, now traffic chief of the Guyana Police Force. And since taking the reins, we've seen a lot of action with the Guyana Police Force. Now, besides the change of the traffic chief, we need to understand that the road fatalities have been really high on the streets, and persons have been blaming the Guyana Police Force, blaming the government of Guyana for some of the carnage on the streets. Now, I disagree with this because I do see the police on the road, but we have cases of persons either being outright reckless or persons becoming intoxicated and then getting in front of getting behind the wheel and operating vehicles and causing mayhem and all sorts of things on the road. I think as Guyanese, we need to take personal responsibility for our safety and the safety of our fellow Guyanese. There's no reason somebody should be above the legal limits of intoxication and operating a vehicle, whether it be motorcycle, car, truck, whatever it is, right? And for those persons who are in their right mind and decide to pelt down the road at a ridiculous speed, knowing fully well our roads are small, and we might not have the best drivers around. We know the minibus men them wild. So I don't understand why persons feel the need to engage in this type of speeding. It is unnecessary, right? Morning to Jerry Gomes watching us from Georgia. Drew Prasad, morning to you, right? So the Guyana Police Force has, I think you would have remembered, it was City Hall. I don't know whose initiative it was, but City Hall had a name and shame campaign. I was at MTV at the time. I used to read news for MTV then. And they had this name and shame campaign. And why it got my attention, they have certain factories in that area where the studio is. And quite a few of them were named. I think they was on the papers and the news and stuff like that. On social media, they were named and shamed for illegal dumping and all sorts of stuff that they were doing. So I see the Guyana Police Force has decided to employ something similar, because this is not just garbage, this is life we're talking about. Intoxicated persons getting behind the wheel endanger themselves, they endanger countless others. because you don't know who they can impact on their way home. So quite a few persons were listed or arrested, I should say, and they are going to be placed before the courts for operating vehicles whilst under the influence of alcohol. And this is across the regions. Persons from across the regions were last Sunday brought in and charged for these offenses. Some of them, even in some of the photos, they have the dates of court. So some of these guys here, they're expected to be at the Lenore Magistrates Court on the 15th. And I'm going to say hats off to the Guyana Police Force for enforcing the law and ensuring that these offenders have their day in court to answer to why they are putting themselves and other Guyanese in danger. So kudos to the Guyana Police Force. Keep up the work, keep up the good work to ensure that we don't have persons intoxicated on our roadways and causing grief to family and other persons due to vehicular accidents and things of this nature. So again, keep up the good work, the Guyana Police Force, and make sure that our roads are safer and persons who are operating on our roads operate in a more sensible manner. Because the more you keep locking them up, the more you keep shaming them like this here, putting the photos out, sending their photos out to the media, shaming them like this, they're not going to want to experience this again. And the mere fact that all these photos here, it means that corruption going on in the police force. Because piece of time, probably somebody would have want to pass some money so that they would have get to along the way. But it's not happening. And I wanted to be clear because persons might say we're only looking at a few persons here, but to give you a holistic idea of what took place in that operation by the Guyana Police Force. On the Sunday, which is last Sunday, 377 cases were made against drivers. So it's either the fitness, you got license, some lighting working on the vehicle, something, right? Something of this sort. So across all divisions, under the leadership of Senior Superintendent Mahinder Singh, 377 cases were made. That number of cases included 165 for speeding and 15 for DUI, right? 15 for DUI. So, folks, follow the speed limit. Don't drink and drive. Hold a focus. Not because the police on the road, but it's the right thing to do as Guyanese. We don't want to, And when you go to the States, anyway, I ain't gonna get into that. Moving on, I want to show y'all two photos here again, right? But before I get to that, y'all move the truck out of the people place. Y'all move the truck from the people place. Again, I'm asking the owner of this truck here. This is Lamaha Street, opposite Mantra, or in the Mantra area there. This is very unsafe for persons exiting the car and persons approaching the car. You can't see what is coming there. This is another hazard. So I'd like to bring this to the attention of the traffic chief, and for him to either let us know whether the Guyana Police Force can do something about these issues and whether persons can call the traffic department about vehicles like this that are parked on the parapets and the roadways of the country, and can cause issues. I remember sometime last year, Minister of Public Works, Bishop 𝒊𝒔𝒄𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒎, was lamenting the fact that persons would park their heavy-duty equipment on the side of the East Bank Highway there, and it was not properly marked. It didn't have any lights, reflectors, so persons traveling in the night could see it, and it could cause a lot of problems. So again, for the owner of this truck here in Kitty, it is not safe. You're making the area unsafe for persons driving on the roadway. So again, I'm raising this and I'm asking the Guyana Police Force to look into this matter It's very unsafe for persons operating in that area. Next, this is an old photo. This is an old photo. This is our president. This is our president, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali. And I can tell you this as well. On the outskirts of this photo, I am absolutely sure that there is the Prime Minister. There are several ministers of government. There's Mr. Clifton Hicken, Commissioner Acting. There is the new Chief of Staff. There is the Fire Chief. There is the Head of the Prison Services. There are ministers of government on the outskirts of this photo, right? And the reason I show you this photo, I want to contrast it with what you see persons on the other side getting engaged in, right? What you see persons on the other side getting engaged in. Now, this photo here is of our president, the holder of the highest office in this country, taking time out of his busy schedule of running the country to come out and help clean up the country during a national cleanup recently held. And folks, please share their life, because I like the persons on the other side to see this. I know Paul and Joe King, they're watching, but I like persons on the other side to see this, because sometimes I feel like they themselves don't even understand the nonsense that they're involved in. Now, this is our president, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, out early, I think it was a Saturday morning, involved in a national cleanup. Guyana is on the rise. Persons are coming in relation to oil and gas. Persons are coming in relation to our traditional sectors. CPL is here. Well, at that time when he in this photo, CPL would have been on the way to Guyana. Now CPL is here, cleaning up the place, making Guyana look good and green. You understand me? Now contrast this to the leader of the opposition, right? The leader of the opposition. This is the representation Guyanese are getting from the leader of the opposition. This is the activity that the leader of the opposition loves to be involved in. He's not going to get up early, put on some gloves and find a rake and come down the road and clean up mess that Guyanese make. You understand? He is interested in touring, drinking, and enjoying himself, right? Touring, drinking, and enjoying himself. And at this current point, members of that party are totally fed up with the situation, as it brings a lot of embarrassment to the party and to persons who claim to, still be associated with this dead group. So I wanted to share that with you. Look at the difference in leadership, right? One leading you to clean up, make the place better. The other one leading you to clean up as well, but to clean up the liquor the people in party. You understand? To clean up the liquor the people in party. And even in this video, you understand me? That's to show you how things are terrible and dire in this party. The person shooting the video is shooting him, and he notices, oh, you want to catch the glass, no? He's proud to be a Rumbugi. He is proud to be a Rumbugi. Persons in his party upset he walking around with a flask, sipping everywhere, smelling like liquor. The shame. You understand me? They're shame. But it's a good thing. This is not our commander-in-chief. This is not the whole of the highest office in Guyana. And I dare say to you, this will never be the holder of the highest office in Guyana. No day. And we can go into why this gentleman will most likely never be one of the highest office holders in Guyana. I wanted to get to the UN Economic Commission for Latin America and Caribbean report, but let me stay on these PNC things and I can bounce back to that. Just give me a few minutes and I can come back to that report, because I want y'all to hear what's in the report as well, right? I want y'all to hear what's in the report because according to the opposition, people like Harvey Norton, people like Paul, people like Joe King, people like Sherrod Duncan, people like Mark Benchcop, Rickford Burke, and those people, there's nothing happening in the country. Guyana is stagnated. There's no development, right? The government spending all the money on the self. But before we get into that, let me give you all a closer look at what's happening in the PNC camp, right? Now, y'all remember me talking about a biennial Congress or General Council meeting that they were supposed to hold in the PNC, and they didn't have money. Y'all remember me highlighting to you and showing y'all their check written by the Guyanese critic for $3 million because they said the thing was 2.4. Critic get them 600,000 extra and they refuse it. But now we're understanding why, right? Aubrey Norton knows that persons in the PNC will not vote for him again to be the leader of this party. So Aubrey Norton, in the normal fashion of the PNC, instead of violating the Constitution of Guyana, which they normally do, they're now violating their own constitution and refusing to hold elections to get Aubrey Norton out of there or to find a new leader of that party. And y'all could remember, look for the video tomorrow, y'all could remember the controversy that surrounded David Granger in relation to his ascension to lead of that party, shooting up at Congress Place and all kind of thing. If you remember, Aubrey Norton was outside of Congress Place with his Linden delegates, saying that they're not taking part in anything. They don't want to be a part of the party. They're going to take a step back because what was going on there, they didn't understand. Now Aubrey Norton is back at the helm of this party and is involved in something very much similar, right? Now, sources close to the party are expressing concern and objections regarding the potential extension of Aubrey Norton's term as leader of the People's National Congress Reform beyond its constitutionally appointed end date. Now, let's look at the violation of the party's constitution. These sources argue that extending Aubrey Norton's term without valid reasons, such as extraordinary circumstances like a pandemic, COVID, or an election year, which he would never be in there in an election year, you understand me, would constitute a violation of the PNCR's constitution. It was emphasized that adherence to the Constitution is crucial to maintaining democratic principles within the party. If they can't do it in the party, matter of fact, if they couldn't do it at the national elections, where it's more important than the party, the national elections, we're expecting inside there. What y'all expecting inside there? Right? The source spoke about a threat to the democratic norms. It was highlighted that extending a leader's term without following the established constitutional procedures goes against the democratic norms and principles. It also suggests that such actions could disenfranchise party members who expect the Congress to be held as scheduled. Put aside the party members, these people are disenfranchising regular Guyanese from their regular vote. Why persons in the PNC surprised that this is going on now? This is nothing new. This is nothing new coming out to the PNC. Now people in there realize about this and people being disenfranchised. Emphasis that democracy within the PNCR relies on a system of checks and balances. Now, these checks and balances they're talking about blank checks and zero balance. blank checks for Norton for him to spend all the money and the zero balance that he left them with. That's the democracy in the PNCR. With the biennial Congress serving as a safeguard, allowing a term extension could concentrate power within the leadership and reduce accountability, which would undermine the party's democratic foundation. None they have. None whatsoever. Right? None whatsoever. There's no democratic foundation there. And what persons need to remember, in terms of accountability and transparency, those are not synonymous with the PNC. They're not synonymous with the PNC. Whether it's 5 years, whether it's 28 years, we've always known about rigged elections and jiggery-poogery, right? We saw it with Granger. We're seeing it with Aubrey Norton. We saw it with Burnham, right? The leaders of this party, when they hold the reins, they don't like to let go. And that's a sad thing. Because it's not like the inside their party where, despite rigging attempts, they could still get away with it. The Guyanese people will not allow it. GCOM, despite them infiltrating GCOM and having their people in there to push their agenda, the Guyanese people will not allow it. The international community will not allow it. Now, their Central Executive Committee has a responsibility. They have the responsibility to uphold the party's constitution and democratic values. So they need to step to Aubrey Norton and not let him unconstitutionally extend this term. Right? Don't let Aubrey Norton do that. But then again, anyway. So the party, in terms of the PNC, there's no unity, and you see that. You even see it in their message to the people. It's division, dividing Indians from Afros, marginalizing Amerindians, calling them all sorts of names, right? Cussing the Chinese, and then, anyway, trouble. So a lot of persons have expressed concern that they're attempting to extend Aubrey Norton's term could lead to internal strife, which is already there in the party, more division, which is already there in the party, and more conflicts, which is already there in the party. So maybe they need to bring back their Minister of Social Cohesion, and maybe she could work some magic and get them to sort themselves out, right? Anyway, that's basically what's going on in these people camp. That is what going on in these people camp. Imagine if they were in office. Imagine if Aubrey Norton was a president. Don't imagine it, please. Sorry, don't imagine it. Don't imagine it. Imagine Aubrey Norton at the UN meeting drunk like a fish. Huh? Embarrassing we. Look. Thank God for the ABCE countries. Thank God for the local observers. Thank God for all those other parties who ran in the same election and said the 𝒕𝒉𝒂𝒄𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒆𝒄. Thank God for the persons who are willing to speak out. Thank God for the guardians of democracy who stay out there and guard them ballot boxes so that we didn't have another 28 years of things like Grange and Burnham and Harmon and them with nothing happening for us, right? But let me come to the report that I wanted to share with you guys. And as I said, this is a report from the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, right? We had a report just the other day from the IDB speaking to Guyana moving forward. We recently, had a press conference from His Excellency highlighting how Guyana is moving forward in oil and gas and its traditional sectors. So let's look at this 𝒂𝒂💄 report, right, which spoke to the decrease in public debt for Guyana. Now, Guyana has recorded a significant decrease in its public debt, with its debt to GDP ratio standing at approximately 24.7% as of December 2022. This is a positive indicator of the country's fiscal responsibility, right? Let's look at the comparative debt levels in the Caribbean. Now, the 𝒂𝒂💄 report highlights the central government gross debt in the Caribbean. It highlighted that the central government gross debt in the Caribbean was quite high, representing 77.9% of GDP in December of 2022. Guyana's achievement of a low debt to GDP ratio is noteworthy compared to some other Caribbean countries where debt levels reach 100% of GDP. 100% of GDP. The report spoke to the economic transformation happening in Guyana. Guyana's economic standing has seen substantial improvement in recent years. The country has managed to reduce its debt burden and now boasts one of the lowest debt to GDP ratios globally. Not in the Caribbean, not in South America, globally. This transformation is attributed to the government's prudent financial policies. Now let's look at those prudent fiscal policies from the government. The report mentions that the government of Guyana adjusted the limits for external and public loans in order to support the country's development. Senior Minister Dr. Ashley Singh, that's the minister out of office of the president with responsibility for finance, defended this move, emphasizing the government's commitment to debt sustainability and its track record in managing finances. Track record. Now let's look at the historical perspective, presented in the report. It is worth noting the historical context the article provided. In 1992, Guyana's debt was over 900% of its GDP, making it uncreditworthy. So when you hear the opposition talking about loans and borrowing under the PNC, nobody wanted to lend us any money. Nobody wanted anything to do with us in relation to lending us money to move the country forward, right? We were uncreditworthy. The PPPC government has since worked to restore the country's economic viability, leading to a drastic reduction in debt from 900% to around 45% of the GDP by 2015. That is when the country was handed back over to the PNC. So from 900%, they broke it down to 40% and then handed back over to the PNC in 2015, right? The report also looked at the inflation rates. The 𝒂𝒂💄 report also mentioned Guyana's low inflation rates. So despite Elson Low telling you all foolishness on the lowdown, right? The 𝒂𝒂💄 report mentions Guyana's low inflation rate, which stood at 1.9% in June 2023 compared to the end of 2022. The low inflation rate is a positive economic indicator that can contribute to economic stability and growth. Now, the report also did a regional comparison. It highlights that Guyana is among the countries with the largest reduction in inflation, along with other nations in the region. This suggests that Guyana's economic policies are contributing to price stability. Now, it also talks about sustainable growth and climate action. The report, titled Financing a Sustainable Transition, Investing for Growth and Climate Change Action, underscores the importance of sustainable economic growth and investment, which have positive effects on debt management and climate change mitigation. And you see this with Guyana. You see us implementing the energy mix with solar or with our hydro, and in Borbis they even got wind turbine. That it's not, it might not be government, but persons given the trajectory, the LCDS and the trajectory Guyana is on in relation to it's, I don't want to say green state initiative. No, we're not borrowing any of those terminologies. In relation to climate change mitigation, we see persons privately and in government implementing changes. Right? Now, what about the future prospects of Guyana? With its low debt levels, stable economic policy, Guyana may be well positioned for continued economic growth and development. Continued. The word is continued. The report said continued. I mean it happening now. That means it happening now. The country's ability to manage its debt and inflation is indicative of sound economic governance. We didn't get this report 2015 to 2020, right? Finally, the global impact. The global impact. Guyana's success in reducing public debt and maintaining low inflation can serve as a positive example for other countries grappling with similar economic challenges. So we are now the poster child for other countries, right? You remember Guyana is the first country to actually monetize its carbon credits. People still struggling to do that. It showcases the potential for responsible fiscal policies to lead to economic improvement, right? So the report highlights Guyana's achievement in reducing public debt and maintaining economic stability. So somebody please pass this report. The report from the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean. Now, somebody send it to Sherrod for me. Hopefully he mentioned it in the ring tonight. Somebody send it to Coretta or Chris or Ganesh or Royce Deal. Somebody send it out somewhere, man. Send it out somewhere so these people can understand exactly what's happening in the country, right? And despite all the nonsense they claim, Guyana is moving forward, and we don't have time for foolishness. We don't have time for the foolishness. Now, I wanted to move across because I got some voice notes from Paul yesterday. And I know some people don't like hear about Paul, but sometimes he's got to keep engaging because a lot of people in the diaspora are misinformed by the opposition, right? And Paul was talking about the election case is not moving forward and why this and why that and all this other stuff. Now, I don't know if it is the gods or what, but we had that conversation with Paul yesterday, and by the afternoon, the special counsel, Mr. Ramdani, King's Counsel, gave a breakdown in an interview on the Attorney General's page of what is really happening with these election cases. So I am hoping that Paul would take some time and have a look at that interview with Mr. Ramdani, King's Counsel, and listen to what he's saying. Listen to what he's saying. Now, for those who ain't got the time, let me take you through a quick synopsis of what Mr. Ramdani was saying in relation to these cases. Right? Now, everybody knows where the cases came from. The thievery, right? Or the attempted theft of the 2020 general region elections, right? That is where it stemmed from. So the initial investigation and charges, and that's what I liked about the interview. The Mr. Ramdani gave a complete breakdown of the genesis to where we are now, right? So we all know the cases stem from what transpired around the 2020 general and regional election. It was mentioned that there were investigation and initial charges laid in connection to the elections. However, the Director of Public Prosecution withdrew some of these charges and replaced them with new charges against 9 individuals. Now, this is a complex investigation. The investigation was described as extensive, involving nearly 90 witnesses, Paul, 90 witnesses, and a significant amount of evidence. Charges were being laid incrementally as the evidence was collected, right? Now, in relation to the format of the trial, Mr. Ramdani discussed whether these cases would be tried by a magistrate or by a jury in the High Court. And there is a debate about the approach forum for these cases due to the political nature of them. He even touched on jury selection. One of the concerns raised is the potential bias of jurors in the political cases. It was suggested that picking jurors from a politically divided country like Guyana could be challenging, Paul and Joe, right? Because you have persons like Aubrey and Sherrod and Rickford and Amanza and Coretta dividing the country, right? He indicated that they were seeking the maximum penalties in relation to these court matters, and also highlighted that this is a lengthy process. This is not something that's going to be happening overnight, and even drawed some contrast to the COI, which took a few months to get concluded, the COI into the elections rigging. Mr. Ramdani also spoke to the appeals and the delays that are causing the cases to be slowed up, right? Now, there have been several appeals related to the trial format that have caused delays in the legal proceedings. And these cases are still pending in front of higher courts. Now, even in relation to the evidence and statements of Paul, Mr. Ramdani shared to prove the charges, the prosecution requires, and this special prosecutor requires access to the statements of Paul from the 2020 elections, which has been proving to be challenging to obtain. He also touched on the importance of a timely resolution to these matters. He emphasized the importance of resolving the cases promptly due to the political nature and the potential public attention and discussion surrounding them. Y'all know these people stay when they don't get away. Broke up and done. Broke up and done. Right? But he assured persons viewing that despite the various appeals and all this stuff, the process is still ongoing. The process is still ongoing. In 2021, the prosecution made an application to the High Court to obtain copies of the original statements of Paul. The Chief Justice granted this application, allowing them to copy the documents under supervision. So at least now, right, we got GCOM statements of Paul. We don't have the oppositions. The PVPs were posted online eons ago. The persons from the other parties, the small parties, their claim is that their statements of Paul match what they're seeing from the People's Progressive Party. So it is good that the special prosecutor was able to have a look at the originals and to build his case based on that. Now, the evidence is so much. The evidence is so much that over 5,000 documents were copied and provided to the court and the defendants. And literally a truckload of evidence was delivered to the magistrate court, emphasizing the volume of the documents involved. There's also video evidence, which were captured from cell phones. which require transcripts and forensic analysis, so that we know that the videos aren't doctored. That is why I said to Porces, I think the opposition is so retarded. How in this day and age, how is it? Paul is a stupid person, Lash. Right? Paul is a stupid person. And Paul is stupid enough, and I dare say you're stupid, Paul, to deem this as excuses when the appeals are being done by the persons who are charged with the crimes. Mingo and Lowenfield and Myers and co. You understand me? So Paul is somebody who is stupid enough to see the analysis of video evidence, acquiring transcripts of the video evidence of the rigging as excuses. Paul will see the compilation of those 5,000 documents under the supervision of the High Court as excuses, because he doesn't see the opposition leader and his party not producing their SOPs as an excuse, because Paul is an avid drinker of the Kool-Aid. You understand me? So he would never see that as an excuse. And the reason I'm going through this is for this individual, and I'm glad that he's on the live. I'm glad you're here, Paul. I'm glad you're here. So as I said, the video evidence, they need transcripts and they need to be forensically analyzed, so that when we see Azure and all of them in the place, when we see Roxanne Myers rushing the people out of the place and talking about 𝒏𝒐𝒕𝒆 and all them thing, we got the evidence, Paul. Right? When we see the GCOM staff fully opening and closing thing and all kind of thing, we got the evidence, Paul. And we know the video is authentic. Not like, and it is authentic like the flask Aubrey Norton is keeping in his back pocket. Authentic as that. Right? So, moving on, Mr. Ramdani also highlighted that the prosecution sought to amend some of the charges to indicate, I should say, the participation of all defendants in the conspiracy. So, Paul, is not a case where we're moving wild like the coalition that couldn't file an election petition by seasoned lawyers who couldn't file an election petition in the right way and got it thrown out of court. We don't want that with this, Paul. We want to make sure that these individuals are held to account for the foolishness. You understand me? We want these individuals to be held account for the foolishness that they're doing. And whilst I might not speak for all Guyanese, Paul, I'm speaking for a few. I'm speaking for a few. And I'd like you to know that despite the Russians, despite the people voting, despite the claims of people voting 5-6 times one place, there is no evidence that the opposition can bring, the PNC could bring to show that they won those elections, Paul. And I bet you, no matter how long this takes, this country will never see the PNC's copies of their SOPs. And you don't have a problem with that, Paul. You know why? Because that's your people. And you will support them no matter what they do. I think you told me you're a Democrat or something like that and all this nonsense. You're a Guyanese first before you're a Democrat. You're running over there. Huh? You're running over there and in the people. Anyway, let me think. Let me get back to this case. Let me get back to this case because I want you to understand exactly what's going on. I want you to continue to be misinformed, Paul. Right? So, Mr. Ramdani discussed the application to consolidate the cases into a single trial. The prosecution believed that trying the cases separately before different magistrates would be inefficient and burdensome on the court system. So all these loopholes we closing, Paul, all these loopholes we closing. So when lash sharing is one lash across the board, You understand? One lash across the board. Mr. Ramdani, King's Counsel, also spoke about delays and magistrate changes, which Paul will not mention. So I spoke, at least in the voice note that I sent to him, I spoke to him about the magistrates reclusing themselves from the situation and a set of stupidness, right? Mr. Ramdani highlighted that there were significant delays in court proceedings, including retirement of the chief magistrate, and the matter then came before Magistrate Isaacs, who transferred some of the cases to Magistrate Bailey. Now, he went on to speak about the upcoming case management. The parties involved in this matter are scheduled to come before the court on October 3rd for case management, where the status of the cases will be reviewed. Mr. Ramdani also touched on the powers of the Chief Magistrate and the Chancellor. The Chief Magistrate and the Chancellor have the authority to assign and recall matters going to magistrates and determine which cases can be tried by a magistrate. So a lot of this is out of the hands of the prosecutor and in the hands of the judicial system. Right, Paul? Now, let's look at some conflicts of interest. The transfer of cases from Magistrate Isaacs to Daly was mentioned, with Magistrate Isaacs citing a conflict of interest as a reason for the transfer. The specific nature of the conflict of interest they didn't share. So they got people in certain positions playing games with these cases as well. You understand? So Paul needs to recognize and Joe needs to recognize that the government is moving forward. The government wants to bring finality to this whole thing. You understand? And what they want to do is to ensure that they make an example out of these people, Paul. Right? They make an example out of these people, Paul. So we want to serve wrong, whole case throughout all the work gone to waste special prosecutor ways. This is not like Grange, who was giving out senior counsel willy-nilly, you know. This is a king's counsel. So this man, Mr. Ramdani, has extensive knowledge of the law. So he's going to dot his I's and cross his T's. Allow him. Allow him. So just like the one Guyana, Mr. Ramdani is looking for one lash for the individuals who are involved in it. One lash, one time, wax. What? Not even wax, what tax? That's the kind of lash Mr. Ramdani going to drop in the through the judicial system for the thievery at the elections. Right? So, Paul, I hope I was able to bring clarity to you in relation to what is happening with these election cases. And it's not a case where the government is or the authorities are not moving forward with them. But legal things take time. And we need to make sure that the Guyanese people get justice. The Guyanese people need justice for what the PNC did to them. Right? The Guyanese people need justice for that rigging attempt. And the sad part about it is those persons showed young people, right? Those persons showed young people what the elders used to talk about back in the day. People like me, right, and younger, only heard about elections rigging. We only used to hear about what Burnham used to do and the thief in the ballot box and the barefacedness of it. No. We shall just call, but I Nancy because my time running out. But nobody knew, or we did not know of that. We did not know of the election rigging, and we only saw photos and we heard stories. And they even had some of us who felt, hey, these people probably exaggerating, man. These people couldn't be so bad. These people couldn't be so bad. They exaggerated. But 2020 came, right? 2020 came, and it allowed us to see exactly what these persons were capable of. You understand? What they were capable of. We shall call, but like, oh, he's on? Morning.
How you doing?
Not too bad, brother.
And I heard you was expanding on the current cases.
Yeah.
Or the election fraud cases against these individuals.
Right.
I think, and this is just my honest opinion, I think political atmosphere in Guyana is so contaminated, especially on the opposition benches, and persons within the judicial system or institution of the government that still pledge allegiance to the opposition and the narratives.
Yeah.
And I think even in the judicial system, when you look at you remember during the election MC, you had the case with this majority, the valid vote passed, right?
Yeah.
When a sitting judge would have ruled in favor of that supposed valid vote cast and expunging it.
Yeah. Wow.
And we had to go all the way to
CCJ
to correct that same judge.
Yep.
Could you remember Mr. Reynolds, is his name, his title?
Yep.
That made that bizarre pronouncement on a critical case of that nature.
Man, look, these
so
people.
We have people in the judicial system, we have elements in the judicial system that still pledge allegiance. They just walk along with the government of the day because they want to change. Whenever they have or within their capacity to make decisions, you understand, and execute certain policies, they very much bias. You know that, I know that. Hello?
Yeah, right here.
Right? So I think we also need to investigate these judicial officers as well for malpractice, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Because how come the Chief Justice, whenever she rules on something, I'm absolutely sure whenever she rules on any case which includes or involves politicians, right, or people of importance, maybe in charge of certain institution, why the Chief Justice is rational and logical in her ruling, and whenever it goes to the appeal court, there's another ruling there.
But that's the thing. That is what it shows that there is some bias. It shows.
Because if you could recollect, if you do your history or little research as of 1980, when Mr. Barnum assumed himself as the executive president or confirming himself as the executive president, remember the PNC flag used to be flown at the Court of Appeal.
Yeah.
We call it party paramountcy. Okay. So that alone should answer the question. Right? The appeal court is apparently the court of the opposition. And the High Court is the only authority, the only court, I would think, in terms of the hierarchy of the judiciary system.
Right.
The judges in the High Court, or especially the Chief Justice, are the only the only judge in the hierarchy of judges, right, that would rule a case using intuition, logic, right? Good. That's just my take on that. So
Thank you.
I think we need to do an investigation or a commission of inquiry as to determine the state of the appeal court. Something of this that needs to be done because I think these people will help them, right, on executing the opposition's agenda and not the country's agenda.
I agree in some cases. I agree. Thank you. Thank you for coming through. So, folks, I tried to figure out, like, I can't see some comments coming. I don't know what this is. I think we read, I don't know. I don't know who this is here. I don't know. And I was trying to understand Hector Morris. Like, what are you talking about, Hector Morris? And this is what we find with some persons in the opposition. Now, in Hector Morris's statements here, right? And hey, I mightn't be the best at English, Hector. It's okay, but I don't think I'm that bad. But I'm stupid and ignorant. But in relation to what? Right? In relation to what, Hector? What are you talking about? What point did I raise here that would give you that view? Share with me, brother. Right? But anyway, I ain't gonna bother with that. It's 8 o'clock. It's Tuesday. It's the 12th, and it's Heritage Month. Y'all go out there and be great. Right? Y'all go out there and be great, Guyanese, wherever you are operating from. Continue to be great. Continue to represent Guyana. Continue to make Guyana proud. Right? And if y'all see Paul or y'all see Joe, y'all continue to, like me, help educate them on what's really going on. Paul tells me I only look at things from one side of the coin. But I dare say to you, Paul, I'm putting that's the way you look at it. Right? That's the way you look at it. Because with all the evidence that is in front of you, you still telling me about election case and people didn't want to go forward with that? We're moving forward, brother. Huh? Anyway, tomorrow is another day. I'll see you right here, same time, same place. This is Courdel Jones saying peace, love, one Guyana. Take care.